After a slow start to the 2022 NFL season, the Pittsburgh Steelers won 6 of their last 7 games and nearly made the playoffs. With the NFL draft upon us, who will Pittsburgh select with the 17th pick in the 2023 NFL draft? Let's discuss. Hello and welcome to Draft Brothers, a Champions Round podcast. We continue our NFL draft preview series with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am your host, Jeff Hasley. I'm joined by my draft brother, Dan Turner, and today's guest is Shane Hallam. He's the managing partner of Draft Countdown and one of the prominent NFL draft and prospect sites on the net. And Shane's also a big Steelers fan, and he's going to help us understand what Pittsburgh may do in the 2023 NFL draft. And not only do we get your draft expertise, but we get your knowledge of the Steelers as well here, Shane. And I'm looking forward to this one. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me again. I mean, I'm born, raised, living in Pittsburgh, so we're all black and gold here. So I'm excited to put this to use for the Steelers.
All right, that sounds good. Well, we got a lot to talk about, and we've got the perfect person to talk to. So let's get it on. All right, Shane, let's dive right in. What rumors have you heard around the Pittsburgh area on where they may go with pick number 17?
Look, the Steelers are not a team that's historically shy about what they want to do. You know, they look at player like player, draft player. So I think around here, the talk has been things have kind of been boiled down to only a couple positions to be considered there at 17. Corner is the most likely possibility, but they're definitely looking at offensive tackles, definitely looking at defensive linemen at that pick, and maybe a low percent chance at an inside interior lineman. But you know, everything here is they need a corner, maybe 2 in this draft. That's the big weakness, and that's probably where they're going to look. And obviously, a lot of people here are making connections that they have to other players. So Joey Porter Jr., the corner out of Penn State, has been the favorite if he's sitting there at 17. We know from last year drafting Cam Hayward's brother, and you know the Steelers are definitely into bringing in those bloodlines and those families. We had Derek Watt and TJ Watt, so it's something the Steelers like to do. Porter is the big rumor right now.
So call your shot. Who are they taking? You think Porter?
I think they take Porter if he's there. That's the only holdup, right? Mm-hmm. Is like if Washington takes him a pick before you, then you're kind of stuck. So if I had to push all my chips in the middle on a player, then I'm pushing him in on Joey Porter Jr. being the pick. The Steelers do seem to find a way to have a player that they like fall to them very often, and you know sometimes a very good player often has fallen to them that people didn't expect. So I think this is the year it continues, and Porter's there at 17. That's what they take.
All right. So, you know, you guys trade away Chase Claypool for the 32nd pick. What ended up being the 32nd pick. So right now you have Diontae Johnson, George Pickens, and then Calvin Austin. Do you think that's enough going into next season, or do you think you guys, you know, get a receiver in, you know, one of the early rounds?
It's probably not quite enough. I mean, I don't think the rest of the group, you really have a wide receiver 3, a slot receiver. You know, maybe the hope is Calvin Austin, 4th round pick from last year, who was hurt all year, takes that role. I think that would be pretty aggressive to not have any type of, you know, consolation prize here or competition for that spot. I mean, the other receivers on the roster, you have Cody White, who's been a mainstay, Anthony Miller, the old Bears receiver that never was kind of a bust, and Gunnar Olszewski, who has been more of a special teamer and hasn't really done that well in Pittsburgh at that role last season. So, you know, that's about it. I think they add a receiver in this draft at some point. It's historically been a team that can draft receivers really well. Now, you know, one conversation piece I think throughout this conversation is this is a new general manager. I think a lot of people aren't aware. Omar Khan, this is going to be his first draft. Now, he's been with the Steelers organization for a while, but his background is more in the analytics and cap management. You know, that's kind of what he's done. And Andy Weidel from the Eagles has done a lot of the personnel stuff for the Steelers, alongside him. So this is going to be kind of the first draft where they're calling the shots. Kevin Colbert is still with the team, but in a different role. It could be different, but I have a feeling you still have the same scouting group. You still have pretty much the same front office. They're still going to be good at drafting receivers, and they brought in a couple for visits. I think we see them round 3, round 4, draft another one. Jonathan Mingo from Mississippi, I think, is a strong consideration for that big slot. They wanted Chase Claypool to play, and he simply was not a fit in that position. So if you get a big, fast, athletic receiver like Mingo, who underperformed in college, but definitely has the upside, I think they're going to look at him. And then some of the kind of senior favorites out there, Jaden Reed from Michigan State and Charlie Jones from Purdue, two very different receivers. Jones was the more productive of the two, but I think Reed has a little more of the athletic ability, get open ability, both slot guys. I think that's what they're looking for. Could we find a slot player to compete with Calvin Austin and maybe be another instant impact receiver?
All right. Well, that's going to be my follow-up question. Which receivers do you like? Well, you answered that, so that's good.
That's who they like. I think that's probably the 3 right now, and you never know who else. Like George Pickens wasn't a player I think they expected to be there when they picked with him, so that could happen again too.
If you like sports and playing sporting games, download the Champions Round app. Get playing and start winning. Use promo code DraftBros for a free $10 and check out our newest game mode, Spicy Slips. If you love live sports gaming, the NBA, and now with Major League Baseball, come play Spicy Slips. Build a 2 to 5 leg parlay of live props and win big today. All right, we are talking Steelers draft with Shane Hallam, the managing partner of Draft Countdown. He's co-host of the Devy Marketplace, and he's a writer for Dynasty League Football. Shane, Pittsburgh's got 2 second-round picks thanks to the Chase Claypool trade. Where can you see them going with these picks? And shoot, I mean, that pick 32 is essentially almost a first-rounder. Could they potentially move up? Are you thinking does Pittsburgh tend to do that, or are you thinking that they're going to take some players here with these picks?
It's been interesting because the moving up recently, especially in the first round, has not been very successful for them. I mean, Devin Bush was probably one of the worst draft picks the Steelers have made in their entire history in the first round because they gave up a ton to move up and get him, and he's off the team now after 4 years. Omar Khan's new, he wasn't there at that point. Maybe he makes the move up. I think it's possible. I don't think it'd be a giant jump in the first round or anything. But I do think they could move up if they like Porter and want him. Say, okay, we'll move up 3-4 picks, and pay a future pick. They haven't been shy about giving up future, kind of 4th rounders, that kind of thing. I think that's very possible. I also think that second round, like you mentioned, could be a little bit of jockeying for position, maybe even a move down. They don't have a 5th round pick. They don't have a 6th round pick. They might want to recoup a little bit of that, but they've generally been a team that's stuck where they are. Now we'll see if maybe Khan gets a little bit more aggressive than Colbert was. It wouldn't surprise me if he does wheel and deal a little bit more than we've seen the Steelers in the past. So I think it's a possibility, especially with that 32nd pick. I think you have a lot of different chances. Thankfully, Miami gets forfeited theirs, so you kind of get that free first-round pick out of the deal.
Yeah, and teams that just completed the first round, day 1 is over. We're waiting on day 2. Owners are talking. That's a pick that could potentially be, obviously traded. So a high value or at least a high interest type of pick. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think for those round 2 picks, it'll be interesting. It depends where they go in the first, but I think inside linebacker, remains a need that ultimately Mike Tomlin's going to get to call the shots in this draft. The Steelers have always been the coach gets to pick. The front office does the contracts and the moving up and down, and the coach gets to make those picks, especially on defense. So I could see Mike Tomlin wanting an inside linebacker, and he likes the kind of guys that have no instincts but are, big, fast, and can move like Devin Bush has been. They've drafted a lot of these inside backers that haven't worked out. So, a guy like Trenton Simpson from Clemson, I think fits the mold. And the Steelers have talked to him at the combine. So, when you're looking at 32, I think if they have a first round grade of anyone that falls there, they'll take him. And I think it's a linebacker could be that spot.
So switching different sides of the ball, you did mention cornerback before. So what defensive position group do you think needs to be upgraded the most, whether it's worth, instant impact starters or through depth in the draft?
I think the Steelers still remain a team that lacks a lot of that depth on defense. So I do mention corner. I think the nickel corner is a starting role that needs filled. Maybe Keanu Neal, who they just signed, can kind of fill that, but it'd be ideal to get someone there. So I do think Brian Branch, the safety star from Alabama, who basically was a safety that played nickel for them, could be a possibility because of that. So I think that's a position, outside corner could be upgraded, but it's a backer I just talked about, even pass rusher, outside linebacker. And, TJ Watt's gotten hurt each of the last 2 years. 2 years ago, didn't miss time. This past year missed a lot of time, and it was a problem. You have Alex Highsmith on the other side. Past that, Quincy Roche. There's not much in terms of depth. And they've been talking to Bud Dupree. I think a lot depends if they sign him or not. They've shown a lot of interest in Iowa State pass rusher Will McDonald. If he's there at 32, I think he's going to get a strong consideration, especially if they don't sign Dupree, because they need someone that can step in a rotational role. And then the defensive line, they don't have a nose tackle right now. That's been the old Steelers bread and butter, from Casey Hampton to Javon Hargrave. They don't have it. Now, it's not the old zero tech, two gap, and that's all you do. But they've shown a lot of interest in a lot of these defensive linemen. Mozzie Smith from Michigan, Keanu Benton from Wisconsin, Jervon Dexter from Florida. I think they want a versatile piece that can pass rush. I think they want what they had with Javon Hargrave and haven't been able to get since. So I think those are kind of the positions that need it. I think this will be a defensive-heavy draft. Maybe you get an offensive tackle, maybe you get a receiver, and that might be it on the offensive side.
Hey, Shane, I want to have the opportunity to kind of look into your depths of your draft expertise and kind of shy away from the Steelers here for a second and just kind of ask you what players are moving up the boards.
I think we're seeing that kind of front seven have some guys that move up. Some of these seniors that people are kind of writing off early. Keon White from Georgia Tech is a player, had an excellent season and really pops on film. And he's kind of a bigger player that could play some interior, play some stand-up backer, play some, wide nine. He can do a lot of different things. So I think that's someone. I mentioned Will McDonald. I think he's one at Iowa State. He might not be there at 32 because I think teams like him. He's undersized. He's 230, but fits, with a lot of teams are trying to get smaller, faster at the edge rush position. He had a really nice, workout. And then the Northwestern D tackle edge rusher Adetomiwa Adebawore blew up the combine. Second time I got it. It's pretty good. I think that's good for me.
Well, we always have trouble with that one. So we understand.
So 282. I think the athleticism. So I think when we look at the late first round, we're talking about guys moving up. I think that's a lot of the area where that happens, right? And then if you look at kind of the top of the draft, I don't know if there's a ton of movement. I think Devin Witherspoon from Illinois, this player's been talked about up there, but still has a really good shot to be the first corner off the board, but still isn't kind of getting that type of publicity ultimately. So he's definitely one when we talk about kind of the top of the draft that, that's been moving up. And that's about it. We're kind of at a holding pattern, I think, for a lot of these players, and we're done. The process is done. It's visits, and we're just waiting for the draft to happen.
All right, well, let's swing the door back towards the Steelers, and we'll do our last segment here. One quick question. And I'm going to ask a question, and we're all going to answer it, and just a yes or no answer, and then maybe after we can kind of have some commentary. So that question is, will Kenny Pickett be the team's starting quarterback in the last game of the season for Pittsburgh? I'll go with you here first, Shane. What do you think? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say yes also. I think that there's still more to see in him. And Pittsburgh's a team, they circle the wagons, more so than the Buffalo Bills, even though that's associated with them. It seems like Pittsburgh was out of it, and then here they come back, roaring back last year and nearly make the playoffs. And I think that may have been their down year, and we're going to see them rebound. Mike Tomlin always does that. Any thoughts on Pickett, Shane?
I think as long as he's healthy, he'll be starting the last game in 2025. I think that's, right. I don't think they move on from him until that contract's done. They have to make a decision. The Steelers are a very patient organization.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they are patient, and they will put every bit into Kenny Pickett and trying to develop him until the bitter end. So I think he's the guy. Is he going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league? That's never going to happen. But I think they know that. I think they realize what they have. He could be a top 15 quarterback in the league, build an offensive line, build a run game, have receivers, and have a good defense, and they can compete for a championship.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Shane. We appreciate you sharing your expertise and your insights on the Steelers draft plans. Be sure to follow Shane for his NFL draft knowledge. His Twitter handle is @ShanePHallum. And we appreciate your support for watching. Please do us a favor. If you like the show, consider subscribing. Leave us a comment. That stuff really does help out our channel. And don't forget to download the Champions Round app if you haven't done so, and use the free $10 bonus code. Make sure you check out our Steelers mock draft that we're going to do with Shane here and see who he picks for Pittsburgh. Once again, your entertainment is our passion. We'll see you next time when we talk about the Patriots draft.